Everybody to the second session of the Loyalty Mindset live panel series. This particular session is around onboarding best practice and measuring the success of your onboarding journey. We know that an effective member onboarding journey can result in better retention rates, more engaged, loyal members. So it's obviously a fantastic place to start. And just to make sure that you are optimizing that journey for the best results. So we have everybody, the similar people to who were on the last panel. So I don't know if you wanted to, Guy, just go to the next slide. No.
Yeah, it should be there.
Yeah, I think I've got a bit of a lag on my end, but so okay, our awesome panel. We have Guy Griffiths, who is hosting this session, fitness industry revolution consultant and founder of GG Fit. We also have Will Cheed, who is a key account manager and former operator. The lovely Amy Ritson, who joined us last time, partnerships manager at Independent Gyms UK and Ireland. We also have Julie Allen, Business Development Director at LeisureNet, and Lee Wood, Commercial Director, Deputy CEO at Active Tameside. And we also have Cave Sedegat, who is the owner of FitNation Global and Elite Online Coach. So we're very excited to hear best practices from our amazing panelists, and hopefully we can deliver you some real value during this session. Guy, did you want to run through what we will be discussing?
Sure. Thank you very much, Joe. Yeah, really pleased to be here. Really pleased to be supporting Explore. I am, yeah, not just here so that I can talk about retention. I do genuinely believe that some of the Explore products, Explore Gym and Legend, are some of the best ones out there. So I wouldn't put my name to it otherwise. And yeah, today we're going to be running through getting onboarding right. And I really want to pick the brains of the panel for that part, so that it's really going to set up the rest of this talk on engagement metrics and tracking digital engagement, and then also upselling as a retention tool, which I also really want to get their insights on as well. And it leads on from the playbook, or the playbooks that we did earlier this year. If you've not downloaded them and read them, it's not too late, you still can, and there's a link at the end, I think, for those. So new member onboarding at a gym is one of the most important parts of getting retention right. And as I say, I want to pick the panel's brains really on some tips. I want to try and get a tip from each of them in terms of what's the best onboarding practice, what is going to get members to stick around as long as possible. And then, as I say, we'll get into more of the metrics. So Amy, I'm going to come to you first, just because alphabetically it works for me.
Always, I was used to that through school. Always first. A goes
yeah,
first.
Always first.
Always get the butt dials in people's pockets as well. So
I was going to say that, and I know that because my sister's called Amy as well. Yeah, I'm often butt dialing her. Anyway, from your gym SO51,
yeah.
What would be your one key tip? And I want to kind of get 60 seconds, just get into this quite quickly, so we get all the panel involved. What was the best thing that you did at your gym to get members into it?
I think key to onboarding is to make it as personal as possible. I know that's much harder for bigger operators, but I say make it feel as personal as possible, or make it as personal as possible, depending on the numbers you've got, by adding a personal touch. So my probably go-to thing, as soon as someone walked through my door and they joined up, was to get them in the closed Facebook group. So, or a closed social media group of some sort, and introduce them to my members. And that was done in a way that was very personal. So I'd introduce them, and if they were happy to share the goals they were going for, so I'd really get to know that member. What is your goal? Usually everybody's got a hook that's kind of got them through the door in the first place. So if they were happy, I would share that with everybody. And something about them, so whether it be what's your most embarrassing moment, something a little bit off-piste that actually creates a bit of a talking point. And then
nice. But
my members
they're sharing
brilliant.
that as well. So,
yeah,
so
absolutely.
they're sharing that in a group with other people.
Yes.
So it's not just introducing them to other people, it's getting them to reveal something about themselves and become part of
it. And my members are brilliant at kind of jumping on that and commenting and saying, welcome, we're here to support you. And actually the point of kind of bringing in something that is not fitness related would be an interesting talking point.
Okay, brilliant. I think so that I know what a couple of the other ideas that the panelists have got, but the idea of they've all been thinking about 2 or 3 tips so that we don't duplicate. But Julie, coming to you, lots of experience across all sorts of different sectors. What would be the one onboarding tip that you give people on the webinar today?
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing yours there, Amy. I love that people are sharing embarrassing things about themselves. I think that's great. But for my top tip, I would actually say to operators that one size doesn't fit all. And typically, and I know we'll come on to this a bit later on, that you can have these comprehensive marketing campaigns that meet people where they are, which I know is a concept that the guys over at TA6 are really driving forwards.
Mm-hmm.
And, people will come in and typically they follow a linear process, which doesn't support everyone's needs. So again, coming back to Amy's point about making something really personal, it's very difficult to do that if you've only got one onboarding journey. And of course, when I say one size doesn't fit all, that's also outside of the gym. We need to think broader, and that it isn't just about that process of getting people into a gym. What about your swim only members? What about your members that are here for classes and using other areas of your facility? So my first top tip for today would be think bigger, and one size does not fit all when it comes to onboarding.
Nice. Okay, thank you, Julie. Getting tricky now. Well, Will knows that he's going to be last. He's got the hard act. Kay comes before Al. So Kay, I know you like the personal touch and the kind of needs-led approach. What's your onboarding tip?
That's right. I literally come from originally a social work background where the idea was always to establish services and then look to plug them with people. Whereas what we now do, and what the research told us about that, was that people really need to have their services built for them so that they're actually feeling that it's a bespoke service. So if you come to the gym, we look for the real reason why you're actually joining. We'll then work with that reason and set you up a specific plan. So for example, if you're low on confidence, we'll build you a plan that will take part in a quieter end of the gym, structure times. And what we find is that people feel really listened to, and it's not just one size or 4 packages fits all, it's completely individual. And over the years, we've built up hundreds and hundreds of members, and the retention statistics that we've got, we may lose maybe out of 100 members, maybe 2 a month at the most now. So that we've kind of learned over time that building on people's foundations and their expectations is more what it's about than simply taking them through a process.
Yeah, absolutely. Good points. And again, we're talking smaller clubs, or that more personal, independent operators, which is why it's good to have Lee on the call. With his wellness center behind him, and hundreds and hundreds of people joining each month, hopefully. How do you get that personal approach still, but scale it up?
Yeah, I think it's really tricky when you've got, and I'm sure there's people around in the audience where they've got multi-site or even multi-boroughs facilities. When I had an independent gym, I agree with both Amy and Kev. I think the personal touch was always really important, and it really boded well. I think when you're talking about in general and obviously talking about multi-sites, you've just got to keep the basics absolutely bang on the money. So the top tip for me, from any sort of operator, like I say, because you've got to have unfortunately you've got to have sort of a linear journey when you're talking about multi-sites, because it doesn't become clear. It is really, don't forget one of the most important things, which is first impressions. The first 5 seconds of any sort of customers coming into your buildings, a lot of these people, 70% from what I understand at this moment, they're still new. They're nervous coming through the doors. So the warm greetings, the smile, and the product knowledge just puts people at ease, which in turn gives you that really first impression. It's the same in any industry at all, whether it be leisure or hospitality or whatever it may be. So for me, keep it simple for those who are doing multiple operations, and make sure that first impression counts.
Absolutely. And yes, bespoke journey, meet customers where they are, but it is very difficult, as you say, once you start running multiple sites. And it comes down a lot to standards as well, which we'll go into a little bit today. What's left then for Will? Will, talk to us a little bit about as members join and data as well, maybe. Will.
So yeah, I think it's important. Obviously, everyone's going to have different versions of the onboarding journey and what that looks like. And I think what's really key is to be able to capture it, to measure it, and where you can possibly make individuals accountable for it as well. And that isn't to bit people with a stick with if they're not doing their job properly, but it's to really help engagement, take ownership. So it could be, you might have to utilize PTs, it could be gym staff, it doesn't even have to be gym staff, it could be unqualified staff, mentors, etc., who are taking ownership of that pool of people and seeing them through their journey.
Yeah, and the measurability, that's well, it dovetails really nicely. That wasn't scripted, but thank you very much. Into how we measure onboarding, particularly when everyone is different, right? And everyone coming in is different. So let me get into some of these engagement metrics. I'm gonna talk for a couple of minutes now, but then I do want to come back to the panel and ask them what they think. So we've said it's different for every club and for every member. We've not really gone into the detail of an induction per se, but some kind of onboarding session. And clubs that we've worked with often think about this as are we inducting people into the gym, or are we inducting swimmers or group exercise members? Or ideally there should be something for everyone, whether they're swimming, whether they're going to classes. There's some kind of thing that happens to people, whether it's just coming in and having a coffee with one of Lee's super smiley receptionists. But it's really important that there is some kind of process that people go through, but as we've all said, it isn't linear. The one thing though, maybe apart from some of Julie's members who are visiting and being active outside, is in the first few weeks, few months, all of your members should be making some visits to your club. And that's the thing that absolutely is going to be common. People will be visiting, and to measure those visits and to understand what's going on with your members in their first 14 days, 30 days, whatever else, is really key. And it's something that you can standardize. And where we've set up member journeys at 200, 250 clubs, probably over the last 15 years, one thing that we nearly always do, pretty much without exception, regardless of whatever else the journey is around day 30, we'll send a text or an email or some kind of communication out that says, congratulations, you've been a member for 30 days. If you've made, say, 4 visits. Now, if you've made less than 4 visits, we will also send a text or some kind of communication to every member that encourages them or motivates them or says, please come in for a program review, or some kind of message. Actually, it might be a husband and wife. They might get one of each message on the same day. If they joined on the same day, they probably wouldn't even notice the difference. It's so subtle. But one of the main reasons that we often send these messages is to measure how many congratulate messages we send and how many encourage messages we send, because that gives you a KPI, a really simple KPI that can work for any club, whether we're swimming, whether we're doing classes, whether we're just going to the gym, and it gives everyone that kind of metric. Putting this into a journey, just to draw the picture slightly differently, and this is this is a very simple journey, and that's the digital journey there, a welcome email, a call maybe at day 7, a check-in. All this kind of stuff is in both the Explorer and the Legend playbooks. That goes alongside a physical journey, which should be meeting people where they are, as Julie or Alliance CS6 say, or is bespoke, or is we're trying to encourage people to leave us a referral or a review. But we're sending that. We like to send a text, but it could be a text or an email, or it could be any kind of comms, congratulating and encouraging people on or around day 30. So if you've made 4 visits or more, I'm just very quickly go back to lots of instructors over the past 10-15 years always like to encourage people to visit 3 times a week, because otherwise they'll drop out. And it's just not true. Most people visit once, maybe 1.5, maybe 2 times a week. I know there are some really keen people who go 4 or 5 times a week. Lots of them will be on this call, but your average gym member will go once, maybe once or twice a week. So 4 visits in the first month really is a bare minimum. And if you send those messages and you know that 80% of people who joined last month have made 4 visits, then you're doing pretty well. You might look at the 20% that got the encourage message and you might call them up as well as sending the message. You might check in with them. You might see when do they get to 4 visits. But the point is you've got a nice, easy KPI that you can then say, hey guys, we've got to do more inductions or better inductions, or we need to get more people into classes, or whatever else it is in your particular club that you might want to start doing differently, that you can then try and boost that 80% up to 90%. But this is something that can work for pretty much any club, whether it's a Pilates studio selling passes or blocks of 20, or whether it's a leisure centre, getting this communication out, or even just recording how many people do make 4 visits or more in their first month. Who's got a thought or an example or a view on that from the panel, or a question for me? Lee.
I agree, Guy. I think that we do a very similar thing against multi-sites, and to be fair, we use Explore, and we've built numerous customer journeys within the 30 days. So we have a first day automated thing. Obviously, we do the personal touch, or whether it's online, and there's a welcome touch point that goes to the welcome email with a GIF. So it's not just words. There's a little bit of an action thing in there. There's one for after 7 days, one after 14 days, and one after 30. So that regular thing, because like you say, the general users are once, twice, maybe 3 times a week. So to keep them out of, if you like, the risk of leaving quite quickly, because if you haven't got obviously huge amounts of fitness instructors or personal trainers or whatever it may be, to keep that personal engagement, it's something that's really important to sort of do. So then you can obviously measure where the risk sort of is with regards to leavers, and measure those attrition levels.
Yeah, cool. Julie?
Yeah, Guy, thanks for this, and I totally agree in terms of sort of measuring this key point and having that digital support in place. And I'm going to start with an unpopular opinion, if that's all right. I'm actually a fan, dare I say it, of GDPR because, and hear me out everyone, because it made people talk about the digital experience. So again, back in the days when I was in operations, in early days working in consultancy, I'd hear very often, when people are signing members up, well, you can opt out of the comms, don't worry about it. But actually, by doing that, they were missing out on a massive part of their onboarding experience and their experience thereafter. So again, nothing will ever take away that face-to-face interaction, but we need that digital support in place to really encourage that movement and get people into their new routine and their new habits, like you say. And of course, this is focusing on those that have joined and are coming in. We also need that journey in place for those that have joined up but are yet to start their membership as well, because obviously there's a key group of members there. But I just thought I'd throw in an unpopular opinion to start the session. So thank you.
I mean, the GDPR argument is a really interesting one. We come up against it all the time. I would send personally, and I know this is being recorded and we're broadcasting to the nation, I would send all these messages to everyone, whether they've opted in or out. Now, I'll have a word with your legal team if you want, but these are operational messages that we are sending that are not selling anything. There is no marketing within them. There might be, okay, it depends on how you word them, but these operational messages are nothing to do with GDPR. However, on the flip side, you do also need to sell the opt-in to your members, and you can opt out of any of these at any point if you're doing it properly. But it is a really interesting debate that we always get into. But I do think you also need to sell the fact that people should opt in to your marketing, because then you'll be able to retain them longer. Because when someone's joining a club, they're not thinking about leaving. Well, I hope not anyway.
I think, can I make a point from the independent perspective? And I think it's probably quite different, because even when I look at these slides myself, I think, God, did I have that sort of strict process in place? In an ideal world, yes, I would have had the best software and all the text alerts and the emails, but honestly, I probably didn't, because it was a small operation, which a lot of people have. I didn't have the staff. I had freelance PTs that I had to rely on their buy-in to follow this process through. But I almost sort of not disguised it exactly, but I was very big on gym challenges. So I had technology where they scanned an app and a QR code on the bits of kit, and it was a green leaderboard which was linked to my eco kit. So my kind of check-ins weren't how are you getting on with your membership, it's how are you getting on with the challenge, which effectively does the same thing. It's exactly the same, but it was almost disguised in a way that they didn't feel like they were being sort of checked up on. And it was, to me, it's kind of a softer approach. So I hooked them in on our challenge, whatever challenge was going on that month, and I ran them consistently every month. Like we had kind of boys v girls one month, we had beat the trainer another month, and it was always new members would get checked in on probably a little bit more, but all based around my challenge. So it was kind of maybe a softer way, and perhaps that's a good way if you don't necessarily have the structure, the finances to have the the big kind of all singing all dancing software that everybody would love. That it's an interim way to try and still follow a process and get the same results, but in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Zero to Hero is our favourite new member challenge, and part of Zero to Hero is make 4 visits in your first month. Visit once a week. Sometimes we check that out, as in we check whether it's been done or not on a coffee, literally on a cardboard card. But yeah, looking at the way people progress, and if they make 4 visits in their first month, you probably have as an independent, you can have a much more personalized eye on it. Cave, would you agree?
Would, absolutely. And one of the things that we did, which proved to be really useful, because I'm primarily a strength gym, I've got 120 stations, and it's obviously a lot of variety. So we actually established a free strength induction so that once a week new members could roll in, learn how to use the equipment, have a proper discussion about, again, their training plans. Sometimes, we'd sell them plans, or they'd pull them off, different resources. But what we found was that all the new members would come on that group, they'd all get to know each other. We'd then talk to them about the use of the equipment. Our research had shown that most people struggled to actually understand some of the equipment. So, we found that there was so many different levels to that 1 hour service that really helped with our retention, because it was really a lack of knowledge that people were getting frustrated and maybe not, stay as long, with us. So that was really, quite a good tool, and it was very low cost as well, because I literally used to just run it myself. It was good as an owner to get to meet people, and they also felt that there was a personal touch there, so
Nice.
that's a good tip from us.
Was there a catch-all for so say 10 people signed up last week, 8 of them have signed up for that strength induction?
Yeah.
Are you keeping an extra eye, or are you offering that again next week to the other 2?
Yeah, it's what we do is we have it as like a rolling appointment, so that if somebody make it 1 week, they could jump on the next one. But we would obviously identify if we had maybe 10 members and 6 of them were on that. The other 4 largely were probably quite experienced anyway and didn't want any input at all. And we'd chat to them about how they'd be getting on in the gym at different points when they're scanning in,
Yeah, great, thank you. Will, conscious you're on, you're off mute, so you're on.
I'm off mute now. Yeah, just an observation really. I guess from the digital journey and the one you're sharing with us here, it's important to remember, let the technology do the heavy lifting. Because then, we know that obviously the personal touch will never be replaced, but let the technology do the heavy lifting, and then you can focus on the people that need that personal touch the most. Typically people who are new to exercise, inexperienced, and it could be, you still send them the message of the congratulations, but it's that follow-up call. No sort of strings attached, no sort of trying to upsell a PT session, just a well done, a congratulations. It's a nice little personal touch, which you probably couldn't have if without the digital infrastructure supporting the other process.
Yeah. And listen, I mean, this is a very simple journey, but it could be even simpler. You could take the call and the check out of there, and we have set this up where there is literally that 30-day SMS. Now, it's nice to get the congratulations, or it might encourage people to get the encourage, but half of what we do, honestly, we send the messages because it's the right thing to do, because we're communicating with our members. But for me, a bit of a data geek, I like looking at reports and data and things like that. It shows you how well you are performing, and you have this metric built in. So yeah, the call there at 7 days is amazing if you've got the resource and manpower to do it. But if you haven't, move that to after the 30-day text and call the people who are getting the encouraged one. You don't have to call them all. Is that what you're about to say, Lee?
Yeah, I was just going to echo your words there. It's literally, this is a framework, isn't it? And it's about obviously what we've all got within our already structures, you know, whether it be for number of facilities or whatever it may be, and it's getting that balance right of return of investment, whether it be people, whether it be technology, whether it's a bit of both or whatever it may be. There's no right or wrong. You just got to be customized to whatever levels of audience we have, you know, and customer levels, because we're all stretching to try and make sure that we engage as many people as possible, but sometimes that personal thing, like you say, can't be done because you're selling 10, 20, 30 people a day or whatever it may be. So yeah, like I said, I think just echoing your words really, Guy, this is a framework, and you can obviously customize it within.
Yeah, 100%. One thing I'd add to that is that text messages at this point are really good for a bunch of reasons, but I'll tell you a couple. First of all, they'll get opened much more than emails would. So email open rate generally in the fitness industry is around 20-25%. So 1 in 4, 1 in 5 messages get opened, let alone read. Text is good because you've only got a limited number of characters. You're not worrying about pictures and images, and it is just high five. You've been a member for a month now. You're brilliant. We're brilliant. Over and out. Yeah. But a text message here also just opens that channel to members, going back to Julie's GDPR point, to say, we are going to be texting you. Yeah, it's the worst thing to do would be, you know, the first text you receive from your gym is after 6 months when you've not been for 3 weeks. We're not going into that today, but this just opens the channel to text with a nice high five, congratulations, how you doing, we care about you, fist bump, whatever. Okay, so text messages really, really effective in terms of member retention. Yes, they're a bit more expensive. You might be splashing out 3 or 4p depending on how many thousand you're sending a month, but that's small beer compared to, you know, hopefully what you're taking in on memberships and what you get from boosting retention. So just a quick beat of the SMS text message drum, which we do also do in the playbook. So moving on then just into digital engagement rates. So I'm going to go through these bits a little bit quicker. Here's a slightly different sequence of digital comms that might be sent out, but these are ways of, as well as, don't get me wrong, they are good. It's good and important to engage with your members as they're joining and through their, you know, customer life cycle. But I said it earlier, one of the reasons for me for sending these messages is not just to get the messages into people's inbox or onto people's phones, it's also to measure how effective you are being. So an easy one is click rate, and that's the one that most people go to first. You know, how many clicks did we get? There are 2 more important ones than that, so stand by. But what did people click on? Did they click on the booking, or did they click on the I want to leave a review because Julie told me we should on our last webinar? Are they giving us feedback? So, you know, if people are just clicking on bookings, amazing, they're still coming. But we do need to maybe move the referral button up a little bit in this email to try and get a few more of those. So looking at where people are clicking is important. However, more important than the click rate, of course, is the open rate. So are people opening our welcome message? I'd like to think, I mean, most clubs we work with, you see north of 50%. You want at least, I know I said it's around 20% in the fitness industry, but your welcome messages, you should be getting at least half of your new members to open those. And the best way to do, I could go around the panel and ask for tips, but those two, what most email systems or blogs or ChatGPT will say is subject line is really important, and it is really important. Good subject line will affect your open rate. The best thing in my book to get a good open rate is to tell the member they are going to receive an email. Okay, and don't tell them it's full of offers, because back to Julie's point, they'll opt out. But tell them there's important information about their membership. That way your open rates will be better. Okay. The final one though, and for me the most important one, particularly on that welcome message, is the bounce rate. Okay, the number of clubs we've looked at, analysed, and 100 people sign up. We send out 100 emails, and before you get to the click rate and the open rate, you've got to look at the bounce rate. It will be anywhere between 5, 10, 15%. Half of the time that is down to fat fingers on the front desk, we call it, which is your receptionists or customer advisors or whatever, not quite getting the email right as they're typing it in, or it'll be the customer either not knowing their email or the customer typing it in wrong if they're joining online. So looking at the bounce rate is really important, because if that email address is wrong, A, you're on a hiding to nothing to try and retain that member by email, and B, it's a great excuse to ring them up, interact with them and say, how's it going? Have you enjoyed your visit? Have you had your induction? Have you, did you enjoy the strength conditioning induction with Cave last week? Oh, and by the way, I think your email address is wrong. Can we just get that right for you? Thoughts on those 3 metrics, as how is our onboarding journey going? Who wants to pick up on one of them? I'll tell you what, Will, you've been last so far. Let's come to you first.
Thank you. Yeah. I guess it's sort of linked to making the subject line, being creative with that, making it personal. Again, it all depends on your infrastructure, and obviously that message you've got from, telling people you're going to get an email. Can you make it bespoke to that person? If you've got the technology, or even if you don't, if there's creative ways you can do it where it's still signed off on that person as opposed to, the gym. Again, it just adds that personal touch to engage them and maintain their sense of loyalty moving forward.
Absolutely, yeah. It should be personalised as much as possible, and that will improve not just your open rate on the first one, but going forward, the subsequent open rates. Keep it interesting, keep it relevant to them. Lee, you were talking earlier or before the call about the importance of data. What's your bounce rate like? Put you on the spot.
Yeah, thanks for that. Do you know what? I've just preempted. You're not going to lose my data report. And on the organic searches, it's 39%. So yeah, I mean, it's look, we analyze every month, particularly through like say clicks, bounce rate, open, so on and so forth. It like I said, for those who are doing, like say, multi-sites, this sort of thing is really important, so that you can sort of customize a general way of working and improving. Obviously, it's really a lot more difficult from a personal point of view. However, just talking about obviously some of the things that Will touched on there, particularly around obviously the customizing of things, we've certainly done something similar, whereby depending on what package you pick, the touch points that we do on the auto journey is built for that customization. So whether it be a gym and swim, or it includes classes, for example, the slightly different messages, and like I say, it's the only way we can sort of, I think it's really important that we've done that, because what it enables that person to do is receive it. You think, actually, they have listened, they do care, and it is about getting that point across, really, because like I say, it takes 12 weeks to create a habit, they say, or so we're led to believe. But it's a very similar thing to keep that customer loyal. I think we were similar in our last sort of panel that we did there, and just touched on that. So yeah, customize as much as possible, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, and yeah, if someone's doing Group X, don't try and sell them the pool on day one, because they're almost certainly not going to want to go in the pool, and vice versa. But yeah, we'll get on to upsell in a minute, but yeah, just get people into the habit, because it's much easier to break it than it is to create it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Cave touched on it earlier, didn't he, Guy? Cave was talking about, obviously, the real personal touches with regards to ensuring that they're finding their emotional triggers, their emotional hotspots, and whether they want a quiet part of the gym or they want a busy part of the gym. So it's exactly the same with any of our services within the organizations.
Yeah, that's right. But the other habit we want to build up is the opening the emails we send you, or responding to the texts that we send you habit, so that we can retain people. Julie came off mute, went back on mute. I'm not sure if that was a intention to.
Yeah, no, I was listening intently, but no, I mean, we've seen over the years, and it feels like I'm sort of teaching everyone to suck eggs, but send the right message at the right time to the right people. generates that return visit, which is essentially what we're looking to achieve through any form of communication. And you know, there's been a few references today to our last live panel discussion, and you know, digital is great and it has its space, but again, we've touched on it today that it will not replace that face-to-face. So it really comes back to having a very clear culture of every time we engage with somebody, whether it is in person, digitally, if that's an SMS, if it's an email, if it's the app, that everything is looking to generate that return visit at least once within the following 7 days. And as you said at the start, Guy, you know, if we get that one visit per week over a 4-week period, then we can start to really move people on their journey and start to become a part of their life rather than something they're trying to always achieve and always trying to do. So yeah, no, I was just thinking all sorts of things there, so I thought I'd share that.
This is
sorry,
go on, Amy.
I was just going to say, from like independent, I'm looking at that list there, and a couple of things that just jumped into my head. Obviously, I had the issue of bounce backs on some emails, but one thing I did learn is, again, linking it to the in-club challenges I had. I took their email addresses from them, registering from that. So we got to a point where we didn't have any bounce backs because the members were physically putting in their email addresses themselves.
Amazing.
So we kind of eradicated that problem by going, actually, they need to put them in themselves. So there's no human error allowed. I mean, obviously, the odd occasion they might input it wrong, but it was absolutely minimal. And in terms of making sure they open their emails, I'd always say, I will send your invitation to our next social via email. So whichever social was coming up, we did loads in our gym, then I'd say, I'll just make sure you open the email, because the invite and the header would be invitation. And that kind of just got them in the habit of opening things, because they realized it was actually full of nice things, not spam.
a brilliant GDPR. It's not a GDPR loophole. It is a way of getting people to opt in.
They knew.
Because,
I get there. Yeah. Nothing sketchy, I promise.
Very good. And anything else, Kay, from an independence point of view to add?
Not really. I mean, we're very straight here. We're very straight talking, and I think our customers like that. So when we email people, we say quite clearly, this is an offer or this is some information for you, so they can actually choose whether they want to open it or not. We always just find that head on and direct has really worked for this gym. So that's kind of where we go with it.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, keep the simple approach. Simple approach is the best, and also it's the easiest to measure. So you don't want to make it too complicated.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, when you're talking about upselling and products, if you send an email out about a protein offer that you've got, ultimately you can link it straight back through your sales, you know, to see whether it's worked. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Which is a perfect lead in. Thank you, Kay.
There you go.
Upselling as a retention tool. And so, I mean, this is really where I would say, as an industry, diverge a lot. But listen, ultimately, from the point of view of someone joining on a membership, yeah, if they're just going to stay on the membership and forever and not particularly progress, that's fine, that's great. But a lot of people do need progression in order to, you know, carry on being a member. And progression, get a towel now, okay? Or just something simple like, oh, it's time for your next body composition measurement, and just keeping people in the kind of loop of, you know, whatever membership they're on. So whether you're selling extras or whether you're including extras in month one, a great example is the name's gone now, but the boxing gym. I think it was Hatton Boxing actually, so I'm not sure why I forgot about that. But Hatton Boxing will give everyone a MyZone belt. We always have to shout out MyZone, otherwise the industry fails. But MyZone always needs to sponsor something. But everyone got a MyZone belt on day one, and then on day 30, I think the club would try and take the MyZone belt off them, and no one gave their MyZone belt back, and everyone got charged for a MyZone belt in month 2 because they were all hooked on it. But it's things like that you can include within your membership, or let's just get things into premium membership that actually a load of people are going to want and therefore at some point will upgrade to. And I often talk about in my work with health seekers about a downgrade membership as well. You know, is there something more basic that when someone goes, look, actually I really can't afford whatever it is a month anymore, well, we can drop you down to this sleeper membership or a summer membership, or just come in for a body composition once a month but carry on running outdoors? Is this a way of saving members that isn't actually an upsell, it's a downsell? But here, a bunch of examples I'm going to throw to the much more experienced people now to say, what have you seen that is a great upsell that ultimately helps either retain or measure retention for people? Julie's sitting forwards, but she's not unmuted herself yet, so she's not ready.
No, my whenever I think around upselling, and it's a phrase that will seem very, very odd right now, but I always think of, would you like fries with that? And, when we think about our industry and people coming through our doors and, there's so many opportunities to upsell, downsell, or whatever it may be, that for me, it always just comes back to putting the member at the heart of everything you're doing. So understanding where they are, what they need, and then advising them that way. I don't have any wonderful tactics up my sleeve, I'm afraid, to share with you, other than just listening to the member and understanding that they might need this or they might need that.
Yeah.
And once you know that, then you can authentically offer that and engage and look after that member, sort of staying true to why you do what you do. So but yeah, I was smiling because I hear upsell and I always think, would you like fries with that? But that probably says far more about me than anything else. But I think there's something in that.
I think I saw Craig Campbell on the call earlier, who has often talks about this, and I think went through the McDonald's process. And if you can coach your staff to go through the process of selling a bottle of water, I imagine a few people have been offered a chocolate bar at a petrol station in the last year or so. It's just something that happens all the time because they're mystery shopped and they have to do it.
Yeah.
But if you're genuinely listening to the member or looking at them and going, do they want a bit extra, then it's not an upsell, it is retention.
Well, it is. And I sorry, Guy, to cut across you. I really feel that this is actually more about identifying barriers. So, for instance, we've got the Easter holidays approaching. Again, I'm thinking of myself here. But, when I go to my gym, it would be great if someone said, oh, Jules, are the kids booked into the Easter camp? Because obviously children are going to be my barrier that will stop me getting in. But actually, if we can find a way to exercise together, or they can go off and do their thing, then it keeps me engaged. But also it reinforces the message that actually you are here to look out for me and you do want to do your best by me. So I'm not being sold to. Nobody wants to be sold to, but they're identifying a potential need for me, and that I would find supportive and engaging. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah. Lee, what are your thoughts on?
I'm scribbling Julie's comments down. I'm scribbling away. No, listen. It's really impressive, this. I mean, you can talk about yield models, you can talk about volume models. I think with this sort of conversation, with this particular topic, it's being able to look at it both from a business point of view and obviously from the customer's point of view. We're all striving to ensure the bottom lines are hit, and so many people, I'm sure, around this table say, we have to sell the top memberships and so on and so forth. Some of the best models that do have just obviously one option and then a premium option, but you can customize those options, as you were pointing out, Guy. And whether one of the big ones that we changed was obviously only having Group X in the top tier membership. So there was multiple pick and mix options because you wanted group exercise and then all the USPs that go with it, such as, I don't know, Les Mills content or discount for other services within it, like an inflatable session or that sort of thing. So it's being able to take your business and understand whatever you're building, customizing works well to either drive volume of people coming in from an entry price point of view and affordability, because let's be honest, we're still in this cost of living crisis and the penny, every penny counts, but also making it attractive enough through either one layer or multiple layers to ensure that obviously you can, from a business, drive yield through like you say, almost whatever that the extra may be, whether it be Group X or whatever. So I think I think to use I think it was Amy's right at the beginning, or no, it was Julie. One size doesn't fit all. Different organisations around this table use different ways in which we do things, but I think pick and mix models and ensuring that options there both to upsell and downsell to retain members is really important to be able to do.
Yeah, the analysis then gets really interesting for a data geek like me to go, okay, we are selling premium for 45 rather than 35. How much longer do people stay? Which, yeah, as I say, that's where it gets really interesting. But ultimately, if generally, the more you charge people, the more you involve people and not lock them in by upselling, but selling what they need, as Julie says, they are going to stay longer. How much gets, you start to want to look at the analysis.
It's quite interesting, guy, because in the industry, we used to be labelled so much with contracts, 12-month contracts, or even longer. It's something that certainly I'm sure a lot of people and a lot of the organisations have stepped away from, particularly through COVID and the reopens, because you don't want to tie people in and have that sort of barrier. Shoot, am I be tied in for another 12 months or whatever it may be, when I don't even know if it's going to stay open, etc. So, there's lots and lots of, like say, tools to use them. We analyse in particular not the other memberships really, but certainly what percentage each month across the organisation by the top tier one. We do that on a regular basis. Yeah.
What else are you? What do you, Cave? What are you upselling that's really driving people to either visit more or stay longer?
Do you know, I have a very basic package. We either have a 24-hour at £45 or some other variation of less hours at 35. I don't really do much else in terms of variation, but what I do in order to kind of make more value in the gym is that I have more services. So we've got like a body scanner, we've got supplement shop, we've got vending machines, we've got fridges, we have bespoke days where suppliers come in and we'll do taster sessions, and I advertise all of that, and that is pretty much, some of it's got a charge, but I try to give back quite a lot of free experiences. So maybe C4 might come in and give cans and shots to the members, but I'm very rigid. And we're also I hear what Lee's saying about contracts, but I've built my gym on contracts only. I find that that's worked really well. It's made my budgets very predictable, and it's given me a certain type of member that has stayed with me for on average 3 years is our membership kind of journey, so I'm very much kind of come in, buy your package, and then if you want anything extra, there is loads available. I mean, I am the king of upselling stuff, but it's in a very kind of non sort of threatening way. It's just, wow, look at what we do, and if you want any of it, then here you go, and if you don't, then that's fine too, really.
But it sounds like taster sessions and events is the so yes, it's all there and available to the members if they want it. You're not selling it, but you're making an event, a bit like Amy was talking about with her events and her challenges and things like that for members to come and try it.
One of the things we did do when I saw your basic membership, it made me smile about downgrading. I've done this quite successfully, and people may balk at it a little bit, but I've had members, if they've been with me over 3 years and maybe they decide that they don't want to stay for financial reasons, or they've lost their job, but they've shown a high degree of loyalty to the gym, I actually let them train for free for 3 months, just to say to them, thank you for your support. And you know what, we're here for you too. If in that time you do have better fortune, sign up again. And if not, it's on us. And you'd be surprised how many people actually get through that period and literally come back to us. So I think it's kind of beyond downselling because it's free, but it is something that is worth remembering, that we as owners need to show goodwill, really. And that can really develop a huge loyal base. We froze all our rates. Anyone who supported us through COVID has got a lifetime freeze on that rate as well.
Yeah, and it's so to maintain people on that rate and to say to them, I mean, I know a lot of clubs will do a 12 for 10 offer or something like that, which is almost effectively what you're doing. And there's always some fear that a lot of people will go, well, I want to leave then because I can get 3 months free. But if you've built the business right and you've got the right kind of members that want to buy the packages that you do, no one's going to take the mickey too much, are they?
We've never had it, to be honest. People, they're grateful for the support, at a time when they're financially, perhaps in trouble, but exercise is probably the one thing that's going to keep them, really well in themselves while they may be looking for work. So It's been
absolutely, I love it. The ultimate downgrade, basic membership.
yeah, absolutely.
Great one. Yes. Amy dropped off, but is back.
I'm back. Did I drop off? I didn't drop
I'm
off
not
my
sure. Maybe you just dropped off my screen.
Something that is really interesting, this slide. Sorry, I feel like I'm being really awkward today because everything you're putting up, I'm going, no, I did do obviously upselling when you've got an independent, a very small operation. It's finances are tighter. You know, there's no two ways
Yeah.
about it. Finance is tighter, and it's something I looked at a lot. I thought, do I give a towel? Do I give people a bottle? And it was something that I'd always looked at. And the way I did it, if I was to rename your slide, it would be unlock as a retention tool. So the thing that really worked for me was I had my own local member benefits offering. So I was on a business park, which a lot of independents are. And obviously we all supported each other. So there's lots of small businesses on that park. So there was a cafe, there was a bakery, there was a beauty salon, all sorts. So I kind of went around the entire park and I said, what can you give my members? So I collected lots of different discounts, 10% off here, free coffee if you spend over £10, you know, all sorts, and created this kind of platform for my members that they had these member benefits, which they got if they stayed with me for 3 months. So they unlocked their benefits after 3 months, which helped me retain them for the 90 days, which is the obviously crucial kind of window to make sure they're creating a habit. And that kind of gift, that the retention tool was in sight, and it didn't cost me anything, you know. So it was a way to increase my retention and have something there to offer, but not at any cost to me, and nothing physical, because like you said, one size doesn't fit all. Not everyone would want a towel, not everyone would want a water bottle.
Sure.
I didn't have the facility that I could store it, so that the kind of unlocking was the way I did it, really, in my facility.
No, I love that. It's you're gamifying it almost, that people are, you know, getting to a certain point and, you know, getting that reward. But also, it's a local reward. It's not a month for a membership or, as you say, a towel. It's something that, you know, genuinely has value to them, which is great.
Yeah, and different things suited obviously different members. Some members love one benefit and one discount, and others, so it had something on there for everybody.
Perfect. Love it. Will.
Yeah, I mean, just reminded me of something actually, and I was thinking anyway that some of the best things I've seen, and it's more for independents, boutiques, even sort of triathlon clubs, is actually utilising the merchandise, particularly gym wear, because people obviously need to wear gym wear, and you can create that culture, that loyalty. That look at me, I'm a member of the club, sort of thing. People wear it outside of the clubs. It then becomes a promotional tool as well. But there was one company I did some work with a few years ago, and they actually unlocked it. So similar to what you're just saying, Amy, you could only buy, you'd get a t-shirt initially, but you could only unlock the other stuff after you've been with them for a month, because you'd get discounts on it, and they'd invest in it. Would, you know, it'd be good merchandise to wear, and like I said, you'd see them out and about in the streets, not necessarily in the clubs. So it definitely helped being part of you know, retaining that sort of loyalty feeling.
I've seen that a bunch of times with the, you know, you basically get a white t-shirt as you join, but once you've done, and it's not even necessarily, you know, been a member for a year or 5 years or something like that. I mean, those are easier milestones to measure, but, you know, 100 workouts, or, you know, you've achieved that, then you now are eligible to buy, possibly. Yeah, it's the park run model, isn't it? But I've seen it at clubs as well.
Yeah, I think definitely triathlon clubs do it the best, I think, when you see it outside of the club. And also they don't want to leave, because then they feel like they can't wear it again, because they don't want to be told, oh, you're a member of this club, and you have to say, actually, I'm not anymore. So
well, yeah, but even
the psychological barrier as well.
Yeah, but you're still getting the marketing, aren't you? Someone wearing the gold t-shirt or the black t-shirt or whatever it is, but it's the
And on the note of clothing, I even gave out t-shirts after lockdown. The members that stayed with me through lockdown, I did lockdown survivor t-shirts, and they went down a storm. Just to sort of thank their loyalty.
We try not to go back to lockdown too
No,
much, but
let's hope there's no repeat of that.
Well, no, but a number of clubs that I know that whose members paid and insisted on paying through lockdown were given, you know, £50 vouchers that were eligible for whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
And a handful of members went, yeah, actually, I'll have one of your lovely heavyweight hoodies. But I know that a number of, you know, the super loyal members just came back with a £50 voucher and went, it's fine, I don't need it. The club then said, no, I'm not taking it back. You've earned this. Go and give it to a friend. your friends can come down and use that for their joining fee, or they can come down and buy a hoodie, or they can come down and have some PT. So, you know, gift the gift card to someone else. If you don't want to use it, do us a favor by getting someone else to use it, which comes back to referrals, and some of the stuff we were talking about last time with Julie, referrals and reviews. Any other thoughts on upselling as a retention tool? It says there's 5 minutes left in the meeting, but I'm going to dismiss that. I think that's because we all jumped on the call early.
I do have something to share, Guy, but this is probably a separate session, but I feel it's worthwhile sharing with anyone who's joining us today. We've recently run some research through our consumer insight panel to understand how many times somebody will try a facility before they become a member. So in terms of upsell, I'm going to move it to pre-member status, if that's all right. And what we found is that a large number try a facility 3 to 4 times before committing to a membership. So again, for those casual users, for want of a better phrase, again, to have our front of house and our teams thinking about actually is a membership right for you at this point, again, is just really important in terms of driving those conversions. So I just thought I'd share a cheeky exclusive with you. There you are. You heard it here first.
No, it is, and I'm aware of that research because it's something you do with niche I'm in, isn't it? And looking at particularly for particularly more, well, it's more for the public sector, I guess, where people can pay as you go. But you know, those pay as you go visitors are really useful. Lee talked to them a little bit earlier, but nurturing them, and we do cover that a little bit in the Legend playbook. Just understanding pay as you go users, or people who come in on guest passes or gym pass or hustle or whatever else, and the importance of nurturing them, and if nothing else, getting some feedback from them. But hopefully just getting them to make one more visit, because at some point they're either going to become a member or they're going to refer someone else to become a member. So it is a really important point, and I'm sure something we'll talk about in future episodes. Let me just see if I can jump back and forth through the seminar. So we talked about getting onboarding right, some great tips from all the different ways of onboarding people, and a really nice mix, I hope you'll agree, of, you know, different kind of facilities across the board. A bit about engagement metrics. As I say, what we often do is just look at that 30-day, who made 4 visits, who made less. Right, that's an interesting number. Now what do we do about it? And then tracking digital engagement, sending messages out to members is good. It engages them, but it also gives you some really interesting stats if you're interested in stats. If you're not, then have a look at some of them, because you can find out how things are going, and it's not just about sending the messages, it's about knowing who's getting them and what's happening to them. And then finally, upselling as a retention tool. It's not to increase the bottom line per se by selling more supplements or getting people upgraded onto premium memberships. It is a little bit about that, but for me, it's as much about getting people to stick around longer, which is why upselling, you know, it is a retention tool. Or what was Amy? Not upselling, but unlocking as a retention tool. So I think at that point I can probably hand back to Joe to hopefully that was a good enough summary. So I've done the tricky bit.
No, that was brilliant. Thank you all very much for your really valuable contributions. I think you've delivered a ton of value in today's session. So I am actually going to open up for questions. I don't know if anybody in the audience, I know that we are coming up for the hour now, but I just wanted to, just put it out there to see if anybody has any questions that they'd like to put to any of the panelists. So raise your hand or unmute. But if not, we are recording this session and we will be sending it out to everybody that registered. So you will be able to watch this back and listen back to the advice that was given and the discussions in your own time.
Tried to get the chat going.
Yeah.
while people are unmuting or maybe forming the question in their mind, shall I click through the next couple of slides and then we can take them as they go through?
That would be great. That would be great. Not everybody likes to ask questions in this type of forum, so but yeah, I just wanted to have a Guy sort of referred to the onboarding playbook a couple of times during the session. So if anybody is interested in getting that, then please do drop me a note or Guy a note. We'll also pop the link in LinkedIn as well, because we do have, I think, Guy, you put together an event, didn't you, on LinkedIn, so we can direct people there, maybe another link there. We'll figure out a way of getting it to you anyway. But this is these are the onboarding playbooks that were created with Guy and some other sort of industry experts as well. It's around sort of, best practice onboarding. We also have created over 20 ready to use email and SMS templates that you can easily just sort of, slot into your existing onboarding journey. If you have a CRM system in place that's automated, then you can add these to that as well. So really great resources, great value, and obviously free to the sector. So if you're interested in getting a copy, then we will figure out a way of getting it to you. If you can just let us know.
And then free MPS. That's
yes, that's Julie.
Yes, so we are offering all delegates an opportunity to have a one-off free MPS, which you can use to measure any key part of your members' experience. Obviously, in the theme of today, we can apply it for, the members that have joined you perhaps at the start of the year and you want to see how they're feeling about their membership at this point. But please drop your details in the comments below or reach out to me directly and we'll get that set up for you. So thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you, Julie. I don't think there are any questions, so I think we can probably wrap up. But like I say, thank you to everybody for joining today. Really great discussion. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And yeah, like I say, we did record the session, so that will go out to everybody that registered. We will also post it on our website as well, so you can go back and have a look at it there. We will be doing a third session of the loyalty mindset. So keep your eyes peeled for information around that. Probably be after Easter now. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled on LinkedIn for that. But thank you very much for joining, and really hope you enjoyed the session and you got a lot of value from it. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Joe.
Cheers.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, guys.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.